I did some testing with Tempest Wind, so in this video, I will give you my quick first impressions. I also have some data regarding her A1 and her 5-star weapon, whether or not they're actually good. There's still more testings to be done, including testing Wind against Twins and Cord. That will be very interesting because testing them would let us know which support is the best in the game. But you have to wait for my final review video for that. So if you're interested and you want to see it, make sure you like and subscribe. So let's start off with just a very quick kit summary. I won't go very detailed here because I'm saving that for my final review video. So basically how she works is, she buffs, very simply. Skill 3 is a must use for her. You'll be using this skill 3 for every rotation. You use skill 2 if it's AoE or if it's a single target boss that is not weak to Wind. Or I mean not weak to Wind, but like if you're not using a Wind DPS, then you use a skill 2. Skill 1 you use it when you have Wind DPS and for only single target. This is for A0. If you have A1, you can use skill 1 for anything as long as it's a single target boss. A highlight is also pretty good. You crit damage buff. Then I'll quickly talk about a 5-star weapon. 5-star weapon is pretty decent. I'll show you the numbers, the testing later. But this one is pretty good. It gives you 13.2% crit damage. And also damage. It's not as good as a Twins, but it's still a decent number. And then we talk about the stat requirements. She has a pretty high stat requirement. The first stat requirement is 450.1% SP recovery. The 5.net says it here already. I'll show you the table. So here's the requirement. Hopefully I've entered the numbers correctly. But from the passive, it's only up to 450% SP recovery. You're probably wondering, does the 0.1% actually matter? And yes, it does. Without this 0.1%, you will not be able to get 200 SP every 2 turns, which you need for Win, because her skill 3 uses all her SP. And ideally, you want to use 200 SP every time because of this sentence. Every 2 SP spent, increase effect by 1%. So you want to always use 200 SP from a skill 3. So you need 200 SP every 2 turns. So you need 450.1% SP recovery. As for crit multiplier, 388%. For no Mindscape, with Mindscape, it increased by 30% to 418%. So this crit multiplier is a little bit high, especially for Mindscape, but you can get quite a bit already. From passive, 84%, main stat card, the creation worry card set, 5-star weapon. So you only need 35.1% substats from the card, 65.1% for Mindscape. But the thing is, there's actually no real cap for her crit multiplier because of her passive. This passive here, it has no cap. So once you have SP recovery to 450.1%, focus all your effort to crit multiplier. Get it as high as possible so you can get more buffs here. So this buff here is basically just some attack and some extra crit damage also. And you trigger this passive by multi-hitting. So characters like Nessa, characters like Foskelmon, but Foskelmon is definitely the best, I guess, DPS for Tempest Wind because they both win. And Tempest Wind can use skill 1 for Foskelmon. Crit multiplier, get as high as possible, but ideally at least 388 so you can activate all the important stuff. The extra is just basically icing on cake. Some extra buff. Also another thing is that make sure you check the stats in battle. Okay, you have to check that in battle because her passives only activate during battle. Like for example, this passive, you get 84% crit damage. This 84% crit damage isn't included in the stat screen, so you need to add this 84. And also her card also, the creation and worry, the 45% crit damage also isn't included, if I'm not wrong. So just go into battle, just check the stats. If you have the requirements here, you are good. And also another thing is that your navigator can give crit damage to, or crit multiplier to Tempest Wind. SP recovery, no. So SP recovery and speed are, I think, the only 2 stats that don't share from the navigator. So if you're very close to reach the 388 or 418% cap, you can try giving crit multiplier to your navigator, which you pretty much want anyways because crit multiplier can also give to your DPS. Okay, so now let's look at the results. Done a bit of testing, only bosses retesting, so let's look at it one by one. So I tested A0, A0R0 and A1R0. So I'll be able to answer 2 questions. Is the 5-star weapon worth it? And is the A1 worth it? So I'll go one by one to explain what the result means. This column is the percentage increase to A0. So the 5-star weapon is a 7.2% increase to the A0. A decent increase, but not as good as Twins. Twins can easily go up to 12%, 13%, almost double. Which makes sense, because the Twins weapon, in terms of raw value, is like double that of Tempest Wind. But it's not a bad weapon to take. If you look at the other one, this is for Queen team on Omitsunu, so the Frostgamon boss because I wanted to test the skill 1, right? Because at A0, you cannot use skill 1 for a nuclear team. You can only use skill 1 for a wind team. So I want to test that also. But anyways, we talk about that later. We talk about the 5-star weapon first. So weapon is 8.1% for this boss. Not bad. 5.6% for Kartikeya, which is the Haru boss. 5.6% is a bit low. Not sure why it's lower than both the single target team, but it's a bit lower, but still an okay increase. The next important number to look at is percentage increase to A0 R0. So basically, I'm comparing A1 R0 to A0 R0. You can see that it's only a 6.5% increase compared to A0 R0, which isn't a big difference. And the reason is quite simple is because I'm using a win team, right? A1 is better. It's a bigger improvement for a non-win team, which this data shows 9.1% is a more increase, higher increase than 6.5. And this is a queen team, so it's not a win team. So A1 will benefit more. It's a pretty decent increase, I would say. But you probably see this one is only 1.7% because this is an AoE boss. A1 doesn't really buff AoE that much. So just a quick refresher. The A1 basically changes the skill 1 to allow any type of attribute damage. So pretty much all the elements, the nuclear, curse, fire, whatever. And more importantly, I would say crit damage increase taken by 30%. That's a decent chunk of increase. However, this one, skill 2, only increase sweeper's attack by 25%. That's not crazy compared to crit damage. Crit damage is just a far more superior offensive stat. Attack is kinda whatever, especially when wind gives a lot of attack already from the skill 3 from the passive. So this is not a big buff, which explains why it's only 1.7%. So now I'll give you a quick thoughts on if it's worth it to get A1 or if it's worth it to get 5-star weapon. And if you can choose only one, which one should you pick? So I'll answer the last question first. If you can pick one only, definitely the 5-star weapon. 5-star weapon is way more universal, can be used in any team. Meanwhile, A1 is specific to only single target teams. And more specifically, single target non-win teams. Because you can see that this is 9.1%, 6.5%. The reason why it's lower because it's already a win team. So it doesn't benefit as much. But for a non-win team, it benefits more. So I think the 5-star weapon overall is not a bad pick. But I think it's completely fine to skip also. 8.1, 7.2, 5.6, these are not crazy numbers. It's not even 10% or more. But Tempest Wind is obviously a support that will be used quite often. So the 5-star weapon will be quite valuable, I would say. Now for A1, I wouldn't really exactly recommend. I only recommend A1 if you are investing a lot to a single target team, maybe Kasumi for example, or whichever single target DPS that's coming. Then A1 will be worth it because 9.1% not too bad, right? But obviously investing to A1 is quite expensive because it's like pulling another character. So if you're lacking gems free to play, I don't think A1 is super necessary. At most, maybe 5-star weapon, or if you want to skip 5-star weapon, not too bad also. Lastly, should you pull Tempest Wind? Short answer is yes. I still haven't tested it against Twins and Court, but having another support is quite valuable. You can use 2 or 3 supports together if you don't require sustain to, do huge damage. But there's also the counter argument that you have both Court and Twins already. You don't exactly need a third support. That's also a fair argument, but the thing is I have no idea which one of the 3 is the best support. In terms of Court and Twins, it depends on the team. Court favors more for big highlight damage. Twins favor more for consistent non-highlight damage. For Tempest Wind, I think it's most likely following the Twins path. So I think it will compete with Twins a bit more. But I need to test it to confirm. So give me like a week or something. But in short, I think it's worth pulling.